How you doing? It's been a minute, which I can explain. So I have a tradition on this channel that I've done every year for the last year straight, and it's basically where I look back in January at everything I did the year previously, and I talk about it. This is both fish-related things and then also like non-fish related things. Okay, this is really like it's a little bit of a journal for me, so that I can look back and see what I did. Do that. We're gonna first go all the way back and start with everything that happened in January. For those of you guys that have been with me since January, January was when I set up my main tank and everything was fine. I actually have a whole video on that, which if you haven't seen it, is probably one of my favorites. And honestly, I think that's about all I did in January. Now, come February, that's when we started letting that tank cycle, and it was about the time where we started adding some fish. In March, I went to reef stock. I promise I went inside, and fun fact, I'll be there this year, I think probably one of the days, so if you're around, come say hi. On a slightly sadder note though, this is when some of my fish started developing velvet, which I put in quotes, you'll see why later, but that was not a fun process. Also in March, I grew out my mustache. I didn't quite commit to it enough though. Then after that, in April, I went to North Carolina where I got to see some cool things like Charlotte the Stingray, which that was a huge news. Do you guys remember that? That was a huge news story. Unfortunately, it didn't really end up that great for her, but it was cool when I saw it. What wasn't fun though was in March when I got laid off my job. That one kind of sucked. I kind of needed to figure my life out at that point. And I guess part of that process was going to Canada, and I got to learn how witches fly. These brooms I feel like probably not that useful, but my parents bought like 4. I don't know why. And then this was, I think, when I posted my last video, which was on how to clean my fish tank. After that, much like the Avatar, I vanished. But look, I'm here again, so let me explain everything that happened since. Starting now with June, where I had to re-quarantine my fish because it turns out it wasn't velvet, it was ick, and so I didn't wait the 78 days or however many it's supposed to be. I put it back in, they got ick again, I had to re-quarantine. It was just, yeah. So, long story short, don't trust me when it comes to fish disease, okay? I'm forever just gonna trust this one guy on Reef to Reef that always responds to the fish disease questions. Then also in June, I went to the beach. I plan to make a fun video about testing LA beach water for use in a reef tank. I never posted it, but long story short, I probably wouldn't do it. Parameters were fine, but I mean, I always feel gross after jumping in the water in LA, so I'm going to use that anecdotal evidence to support my unfounded claim that you shouldn't use that water in your tank. Now, maybe if you went to Catalina, it'd be but we're not getting into it. Now, after June comes July, if I'm doing my months correctly. July was a big month. This was actually when I started a new job that was going to require me to leave Los Angeles. I hadn't left yet, but now it was on the radar. And as a little bit of a goodbye to Los Angeles, I decided I was going to go make a video going to all of my favorite fish stores in LA with
my friend.
Now, I also planned to make this a video, but then I realized it would have been mostly just tractor noises. Vivid Aquariums is pretty sick though. So I also grew my mustache out, much to the chagrin of my family. It looks good though, right? Like, please validate me, okay? Tell me that looks good. Then in the month of July, I went scuba diving at Catalina and some of the nearby islands. Because despite living in Los Angeles for a decade, I'd never dove in there, dived there. The past tense of dive. I had never done that there. Also, yeah, the peer pressure got to me, so I shaved my mustache. In August, I went back to North Carolina, not to see Charlotte, but to see this fish tank in a random restaurant. I'm joking, it was actually to see the girl in the picture, but the fish tank's pretty cool though, right? Like, that was kind of a highlight. It's okay, yeah, whatever. Now, around this time was also when I started prepping to move my fish tank from Los Angeles all the way over to Denver, which is going to become my new home. Now, looking back, if I could give my old self some advice, don't do that. Now, this might become a video later this year if I have the time to sit down and find clips. I really didn't take any clips of me moving it. It was more stressful than it was like a, hey, let's make a video thing. So maybe I'll try doing that. We'll see. But moving on, I also got to meet my nephew this month. So that was cool. I am now an uncle. And then lastly, I ended the month by diving for some sea urchins in Los Angeles, where we were able to collect some uni. So that was actually really fun. I hadn't done that before. And now I never get to do it again. so happy I moved. In September was when I actually made that final move to Denver. I didn't have any furniture at the time, but I had concepts of furniture. You see that tape there? That was going to be the fish tank. I had it all planned out already. And eventually I did get my furniture there. I made sure to set up the fish tank first, okay? Priorities. So yeah, I set that fish tank up and got it cycling while I flew back to LA to eventually overnight all my corals and fish to Denver so I could then put them in that tank. Big shout out to LAX Aquarium for doing that for me. And great news, all the fish and coral that were shipped ended up making it here just fine, no problem. So that was great. And again, might make a video about that, so subscribe. Now, the following month of October was mostly just getting settled into my new place. I did have to go to the ER, which was not fun. Totally fine. Don't recommend it. The bill was expensive. And I also grew out my mustache. You can't tell me that doesn't look good. Moving on to November, I caved to peer pressure and I shaved my mustache again. And I also did this. I don't know what that is.
We'll call this the wine opener.
It's the wine opener. Because, you know, it's got the handles and you open it. Moving on to kind of end November, and this is also when I finally started adding a number of corals to my tank, which is nice because now it actually looks sort of like a fish tank. And I like that. And then finally we get to December last month, where really it was a lot of traveling, mostly for work, but it was great. I got to see Boston, I got to see New Orleans, I got to see Phoenix, Arizona, and eventually went home for Christmas break, where I had to figure out how to make my tank survive a little over 2 weeks without me being there. And I'm happy to say, after coming back after the new year, my tank's looking good. A lot of algae, but it survived. That might also one day be a video. I don't know, but I got ideas, okay? It's just a matter of making them happen one of these days. So yeah, that's everything that happened last year, and I'm looking forward to the next year with you all. Oh, also please like and subscribe. Bye.